Intel Committee Chair Adam Schiff dropped by The View on Tuesday, and let's just say it didn't go well for him, as the former State Department spokesperson Morgan Ortagus went after him for spreading false information about President Donald Trump, asking him if he regretted promoting the garbage Steele dossier. This in the wake of the latest indictment secured by special counsel John Durham.
Do you have any reflections on your role in promoting this to the American people?
Well, first of all, whoever lied to the FBI or lied to Christopher Steele should be prosecuted, and they are. And unlike in the Trump administration, if they're convicted, they should go to jail, not be pardoned. So Donald Trump pardoned Roger Stone for lying. He pardoned Michael Flynn for lying. If people lied to the FBI, they should go to jail. But at the beginning of the Russia investigation, I said that any allegations should be investigated. We couldn't have known, for example, people were lying to Christopher Steele. So it was proper to investigate them. And let's not forget what we learned in that investigation.
Yeah, it's pretty gross to watch him try to worm his way around those questions. Not only did he promote the dossier, but he also lied about the smoking gun evidence he claimed he saw, the evidence that Mueller never found. Join me now from Washington, D.C., representing North Carolina's 11th District, Congressman Madison Cawthorn. Congressman, thank you for joining me. So, Congressman, this interview was pretty cringe on Schiff's behalf. That is, he's just trying to navigate. He doesn't want to be held accountable for anything. I mean, this guy's been wearing a tinfoil hat for years, doubling down, tripling down. Despite, the rest of us working in the journalism world, we knew that the Steele dossier was just total garbage. It was unsubstantiated. It just was totally ridiculous. Yet he fell for it because he wanted to fall for it.
Absolutely. He had confirmation bias, and that was evident throughout this entire hearing and throughout the entire Russia investigation. He said in that interview, I believe that you played back, he said that there's no way we could have known that people were lying to the FBI. That's absolutely incorrect. Had you investigated the claims thoroughly, you would have found out that this was a Russian plant very quickly. You would have found out that, in fact, you, Adam Schiff, are the one who's spreading Russian disinformation. You are, in fact, the one who's being used and co-opted by the Russian government. It's an absolutely despicable situation that we have, and I genuinely believe that the American people should be completely outraged that we have a sitting member of Congress who is in charge of the intelligence community, who's in charge of the Intelligence Committee, and who is now saying, oh, well, you know what? There's no way I could have known that that was a lie. It is your job to know if it was a lie or not, Mr. Schiff.
Yeah, and they wanted to continue pushing, despite everything that we found out over the years, they wanted to continue pushing this dark cloud of controversy over President Trump, his administration, and conservatives in general, just to take them through the 2020 election. And these same people who pushed the Russia collusion hoax are the same people who are still pushing this January 6th insurrection, and that Republicans were involved behind the planning and everything else. But we know exactly what's going on here. Number one, again, I'm going to say it a million times, we do not support people who committed crimes on January 6th. That being said, we also have to point out that some people are being treated extremely unfairly, and we're learning of all these horror stories that are of the people sitting behind bars without bail, people who had their doors kicked in by the FBI, even though they didn't even go inside the Capitol. And then meantime, we have Democrats that are still fishing, and they're still harassing President Trump and his circle because they want to carry this on through the midterm elections. It's obvious. This is political theater.
It absolutely is correct. And really, I call this Donald Trump's third impeachment. They can't get to the president right now, so they're going after his top allies. I mean, you just saw they just subpoenaed Kayleigh McEnany. They're coming after myself. They're coming after anyone who is a real problem to their socialist agenda. Because, when Donald Trump first said that they're not really after me, they're after you. It was a great talking point at the time, but I think the American people are genuinely realizing now that our supply chain shortages are causing $5 a gallon of gas, and that we're seeing that all of our shelves in our grocery stores are starting to become more and more bare. We're seeing that we're having our rights stripped away left and right. We are realizing that the Democrats are the exact same kind of tyranny that they accuse the Trump administration of being this entire time. The Democrats are the ones who should be investigated.
Yeah, exactly. And, they're still not answering some basic questions like, what did the FBI know before January 6th? Why was NYPD tipped off? Why didn't they have the extra security there? Why did Congresswoman Liz Cheney hire private security before January 6th? So a lot of questions, no answers. Also, who was Ray Epps, the guy who was encouraging people to break into the Capitol? We haven't heard anything about him. Has he been arrested? Why was he taken off the most wanted list from the FBI? I mean, right? A lot of questions, no answers.
That is absolutely correct. And my biggest question is why have they not released all the footage that the Capitol Police has of that day? I genuinely believe it's because you're going to have to start seeing some faces that the feds are not going to want to explain the reason for them being there. When you just saw that on Tucker Carlson talking about the situations of all the people who are still in jail, who are just trespassing on January 6th. Again, like you said, I agree with you in the beginning. People who broke laws should be prosecuted, but people should not be treated unfairly. People have the right to a swift trial, and they should be treated fairly under the law.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, the harassment of Donald Trump and the Donald Trump inner circle continues. And just this week, the January 6th committee subpoenaed Stephen Miller, Kayleigh McEnany, and other White House officials. Also, a judge just rejected Trump's effort to temporarily block the release of January 6th records. And so it just continues on and on and on. And as you pointed out, this is just a distraction. They don't want to talk about Biden's failed policies, all of the crises that are going on. They don't want people to believe their own eyes. They're actually trying to make the case that inflation is good now. So originally, this is the timeline. It was like, oh, there's no inflation. There's nothing to see here. Then it was like, oh, well, there is inflation, but it's just temporary. And then, oh, now it's actually inflation is good. So yeah, I mean, congratulate the Biden administration for their good effort.
You're absolutely correct. When they start saying that hyperinflation is good for the economy, yes, it is good for the elites that Nancy Pelosi likes to hang out with, like Jeff Bezos and other billionaires. But I am all in favor of supporting really humanist first policies that are going to support dining room politics, that are going to help the middle class families who are trying to raise their kids, send them to safe schools, make sure that they have upward mobility in this society. But Nancy Pelosi only wants the rich to get richer. It sounds like with that socialist from up in Maine, the senator, who really is trying. It sounds like one of his talking points. But when you really start to look at it, you realize these are the people who want to make sure there's a giant disparity between the classes so they can create conflict in America. They're trying to segregate everybody by race, by color, by class, by religion. They like to divide and conquer, and we have to stand against it as the American people.
Yeah, and then again, what happened in Virginia on the Tuesday election night was a referendum on Biden, and so the Democrats should see and learn from this red wave and say, you know what, our policies aren't working. People are really unhappy. We need to get back to the basics. We need to focus on what's going to improve the lives of the American people. But they haven't done it. They're like doubling and tripling down on the race stuff. Biden continues on as a wrecking ball with promoting his policies. I mean, they immediately passed the infrastructure bill that you didn't vote for, and then now they're trying to still continue to push the hard socialist aspect of Build Back Better. That is a massive plan. That is a lot of money, and then they're trying to tell us that actually passing these trillion-dollar bills will help inflation, huh?
It's insane, especially when you realize that 40% of the dollars that are in circulation in America today have been printed in the last 12 months. It makes you very concerned about the financial security of this country moving forward. And Stephanie, you're absolutely correct. They are doubling down. And really, I mean, I feel like we should all be sending AOC and her little squad thank you cards saying, hey, thank you so much for showing the American people exactly what you all believe. That's why we had the referendum in Virginia that gave Youngkin the victory. And genuinely, I'm just so excited for the patriots that are coming up because the American people right now, they noticed that, 13 Republicans did vote for this infrastructure package. We had it beat on the floor. We had enough Democrats come over to our side. But then we had turncoat rhino Republicans decide to join them in their ranks. And that is why we are now going to see more and more inflation and see less dollars go where they need to be. I am all in favor of strategic and concentrated public investment for improved infrastructure. But only 9% of this bill actually goes to improve roads and bridges and things that we would generally consider as infrastructure. And so I'm telling you, I think that the Republicans who don't have the America First movement dead in their sights is exactly what the direction they're heading. They're going to get voted out, and I cannot wait to see how many seats we take back from the Democrats.
I want to play this for you really quickly. So it was one of Biden's Treasury nominees, and she's saying the quiet part out loud. We'll react after roll tape.
Firms that are in transitioning. And here what I'm thinking about is primarily coal industry and oil and gas industry. A lot of the smaller players in that industry are going to probably go bankrupt in short order. At least we want them to go bankrupt if we want to tackle climate change, right?
So we know that climate change is one of Biden's #1 priorities.
What?
Yeah, no, I'm serious. Like what? So I don't know what this woman thinks we're gonna like run this country on. Are we gonna just have like magical flying unicorns to get us from point A to point B? And Biden is taking climate change very seriously. Instead of going down to the southern border, which he has not been there in a decade, he was out like gallivanting around at the climate summit, taking a snooze in Scotland at the climate summit. I mean, this guy, it's just such a mess.
And he cares so much about climate change that he took an 80-car of armored vehicle caravan to get to the climate change symposium.
Yeah.
There was an army of private jets that flew everyone from all over the country to get there. These people are just virtue signaling. It's disgusting. If you want to tackle climate change, go talk to China, go talk to India, the worst polluters in the world, because really a free economy, one that is like America, that embraces fracking, that embraces the clean energy practices that we use, that embraces nuclear energy. We have the cleanest environment anywhere in the world. I'll put our air up against anyone's, and it's absolutely because of the fossil fuel industry. They are innovating every single day. They are making sure that we have power to run our country. They're making sure that we used to be a net exporter of energy, but now we have a president who has to go and grovel when he's not accidentally falling asleep inside of a symposium. Go grovel to countries that hate us in the OPEC cartel, trying to beg them to produce more oil so we can have cheaper gasoline here in America. It's disgusting. The OPEC should be terrified of us. We should say, hey, we'll be taking that for $1 a gallon. They should say, oh, absolutely, whatever you say, sir.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in.
It's wild. And these people who like want to bankrupt the fossil fuel industry, do they not realize that like everything we use on a daily basis comes from fossil fuels? So are we going to just like
even your tennis shoes,
your clothing,
your
everything,
tennis
the
shoes,
computer she was
everything.
Skyping on, by the way. So yeah, I mean, unless we're just going to like all move into teepees and walk and everything. Honestly, it makes no sense. But at least there's reasonable people like you, Congressman. So that's why we appreciate you. And thank you so much for joining us on the show. Keep up the good fight.
Well, hey, thank you for being in the trenches with me. It means a lot. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.